What is going on YouTube? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another Weiss Schwarz deck profile. This time we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and this is going to be a look at my Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid deck. So I've been testing with this deck for quite a while, and I wanted to kind of showcase what I've been messing with in terms of deck choice and kind of deck design. So today, usually for most of my decks I try to do it live, like on a playmat, but for this one, since this is in JP, I decided I would kind of do something a little bit different just to mix things up a bit. And so I decided to do it on the Bushiroad deck log. I'll put a link to this specific deck list in the description below, so in case you want to see it. So overall, this deck is, from my testing, incredibly consistent. I know some builds have been playing the plus stock soul build with the this climax arrangement of choice and gold bar, but I wanted to try make this deck a little bit more streamlined, because the benefit of the downside of mixing those three climaxes is that you have to always look for you always are more piece dependent, piece oriented. So if you don't have those pieces, your deck strategy tends to fall apart really quickly. And I wanted a strategy which was a little bit more streamlined, as well as still very consistent. So I also wanted a build that kind of answers a lot of the matchups that you're likely to face in JP, which tends to be quintuplets, Decide, and even Mushoku. So like against decks like those where standby, where they create these big walls, you want to kind of have answers to not only have the ability to crack them, but if you have to, surrender board while still gaining advantage in terms of non-interactive plussing climaxes, as well as having decent amount of deck control, which this deck does have. And the benefit of it is that it has the combination of deck control as well as board control in certain stages. So this deck is really just geared towards building as much advantage as you can, so that when you unleash your kill turn, you have what you need ready, and you can kind of just eke your advantage away slowly as you develop your board. So starting off with the level zeros, we're gonna be showcasing first this Trial Deck Toru. That's basically a center slot runner, but it's a flat 35 beat stick with the ability it gives your opponents, all your opponent's characters, pay to encore, which is fine. But the main thing that you want is it's a 3500 center runner, so it's a good beat stick that allows you to kind of eke out advantage. Continuing on with that lineup of utility and plussing zeros, we also play the Iriru from the set. This is the Fukajiro. So what it does is when it's sent to the waiting room from stage, you can discard a card, check up to the top 4 cards of your deck, and then add a level 1 or higher card from among them and send the rest to waiting room. So this allows you to dig deeper, and it's basically controlled milling, since this deck does really well at milling and just overall deck thinning. So the deck speed is actually pretty fast, it's pretty a well-paced deck. And if you're really good at controlling your deck, this card is a must. And since there's not that many good green cards, I decided to play this as a 4-of, since it's a really good just overall utility level 0. Continue on with that Spirit too. We are playing the Kobayashi Salvage Brainstorm. So the reason why we're playing this one at 4, which is usually an unusual number for brainstorms, is because this card is basically the key card for the rest of the deck, since the rest of the deck relies on the resonance ability. So, and this is the resonance target. So having 4 of it, so that way you can just draw, like hard draw multiple copies. So that way you have some for to use for the brainstorm, and then some just to keep in hand for resonance is just really helpful. And you can play other utility cards to help dig this card out. But since I wanted to kind of take advantage of the fact that this deck is incredibly consistent without having to use those necessary tool pieces, that I'd rather just max it out and play 4 copies of it, which is actually been really good in testing. So besides being a tap self salvage brainstorm, it also has another tap self ability which you can alternate between the two, which is tap self. If you control 4 or more other dragon or human characters, you can draw, discard 1. So this allows you to dig for climaxes or even hand fix if you need to. And if you run the specific 2/1 Toru that is kind of an iconic card, it's basically the cover card. That Toru I think every character gains 1K if you control that Toru. So that's something to consider. But we're only using this for basic resonance and salvage brainstorm, and it's a good plussing brainstorm. Continuing on with the zeros, we're playing 3 copies of the Lukoa Riki. So this Riki is actually pretty interesting, is that instead of it being a pay 1 clock self Riki, this is basically when it gets reversed, you send the top card of your deck to clock, and then you can check up to the top 2 cards of your deck and then add any level 1 or lower cards revealed among them. And I think it's not level 1 or lower cards. I think, yeah, level 1 or lower cards. And this allows you to kind of just get what you need, and allows you to kind of just thin your deck out really nicely without having to pay out stock. So this is a kind of interesting Riki from testing. I'm also testing other tool pieces, but I kind of like this Riki for the fact that you're essentially milling for 3 cards, 1 for the trigger, and then 4 cards, 1 for the trigger, 1 for the cost, and 2 for the mill. So you're essentially like digging out from your deck 4 cards off of this level 0, which is really nice. It's essentially kind of like a pseudo Maguro in that sense. Continuing on with the level 0s, we also play 1 copy of this Toru, which has the ability, when it comes into play, you can discard a climax to salvage a character from the waiting room. And also, if climax is played, you can bounce this card and give another character plus 1K until the end of the turn. So this allows you to beef up your lanes as well as hand fix. And since you play a lot of gold bar, you're almost guaranteed to have 1 or 2 climaxes in hand. So you can discard to just essentially filter it and get free key pieces that you need for that game, for that turn. So, or even for in the future. So this allows you to future prep or plan for the moment. So this card is just really good, and it'd be crazy not to run it. And then lastly, for the level 0s, we play the Miss Kobayashi Climax Swapper. So continuing on with the level 1s, we play this Toru right here, which pairs with this gold bar right here. So when the gold bar is in play and you control 2 or more other dragon characters, when this attacks, you can check up to the top 3 cards of your deck, choose one from among them, add it to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. Key thing, you do not have to reveal, since it's not asking for a trait. So you can essentially dig for anything. You can dig for another climax. You can dig for your stock swaps, your stock swap event, or even your free fresh counter. So there's no limit to what you need. It's just depending on what you need at the time for the next turn. So you can add pretty much anything and just plan out your turns from that. And it's a really good plussing 0 that you don't have to worry about getting a reverse just to get the plus off. So it's a good level 1 combo. Continuing on with the level 3s, we play 3 copies of this Toru, which if you have the Kobayashi on board, it gains plus 2K, and then it has the resonance ability. At the beginning of your climax, you reveal another copy of the Kobayashi from hand to draw one, ditch one, which is okay if you need to hand filter. But the second ability is where it's actually pretty spicy. So when you attack, when this card declares an attack, you can select another human or dragon character, and it gains 1500 and the ability hexproof. So this allows you to kind of protect your lanes, especially if you're doing early plays or kill turns, because this allows you to protect your early plays from being targeted by anti-change backups. So you can actually freely attack with this Toru first, and then give the early play a plus 1500 and hexproof. So this allows you to keep your early plays on board and giving them power to crack a lane, as well as making sure, like, if you're trying to kill your opponent, you can protect one of your finishers from being rest countered or even anti-damaged. So this allows you to, this has a lot of flexibility, and it pairs really well with this Iridu right here, which has the ability when this battles your opponent cannot play a backup from their hand. So this allows you to kind of easily win a lane, and if it faces off a level 2, which is usually against standby, it gains plus an additional 6k. So it could potentially be a 13-5 lane if you're trying to crack boards from decks like Mushoku, Decide, and even Quince. So this allows you to kind of crack their boards without them using their backups to protect it. So this allows you to kind of force your opponent to waste resources to encore if they need that level 2. So when you play this down, you're basically telling them that level 2 is, if it doesn't have hand encore, you're gonna lose it. So that's why I like it. And when you pair it with this Toru, you essentially you can freely attack without having to worry about a backup with the Iridu. You can attack with the Toru, make the last card that you're going to swing with hexproof. So if they try to rest counter you, you essentially took away their ability to rest counter you, which is actually pretty nice, since this deck essentially is vulnerable to rest counters, and this Toru makes it so that you have ways to play around it, which is just infinitely better than most level 0, like utility level 1s that I've seen. Continuing on now with level 2, we play the Free Fresh Kobayashi backup. So this is your standard pay 125 backup, and then you can pay an additional 2 to send all the cards from waiting room back into the deck and shuffle it. So you need it because you are gonna be in situations where you might be in awkward deck states, and just having that reset button is just key, because you want to get out. If you want to stay at level 2 a little bit longer to recur resources or to rebuild them up after, let's say, you trigger check to climax the previous turn, this allows you to kind of just regain momentum, like stave off damage and regain momentum for the next turn, during the next turn. So this is just your emergency reset button at the 2-step. Finishing up with the level 2s, we just played the level booster Lukoa, which has the ability, which is basically a level booster 500 times level, and then you can tap this card to give one of your characters the ability on reverse top check scry. So this allows you to further organize your attack patterns after you get the first reverse off, so you can determine which your next few attacks are gonna map out. So this allows you to map them out as you do your battle. So this helps you map it out really effectively. And since most of the level 3s are pretty squishy, you need some kind of backliner to kind of help you out with that. And then now onto the level 3s. So we play one copy of the stock swap event. You kind of need it for when you have the ability to just punish your opponent and get rid of climaxes and then just go for the kill. So you just got to know when to use this. So you only play it as a 1-of because you only need to stock swap one time. And if you do lose it, if you do stock it, you don't have to worry about it. Continuing on with the level 3s, we play one copy of the trial deck Kana. So this Kana is actually really interesting in that if you're going up against Mushoku or any standby board, which has they have their entire wall set up, This card literally just disrespects it by saying at the beginning of your attack step, you may send every card on both fields to the waiting room, and it gains the ability when damage dealt by this card is canceled, burn 3. And it also has a discard 2, burn 1 on attack. So this card is basically Godzilla and aka Woozer in JP. So this allows you to kind of just board wipe mainly your opponents. So if they have a really good established board, or if you survive their kill turn and you know they have a rest counter, you just basically say delete the board. You just delete their entire board, and if your opponent doesn't have enough stock, you just outright just get a free attack lanes. And if you have enough stock, you can just pay 3 encore maybe your front row, and then just have 3 attackers freely just to poke. So this card is actually really good at that, and I actually like it. That's why I play it. It's just my answer to standby, and mainly like decks that run rest counters. So this is there to just disrespect that board. Next we play 2 copies of this 3/2 Toru, which comes into play, draw 2, discard 1, and it's essentially discard 2 to Icy Tail, aka send the bottom 4 cards of your opponent's deck, and for each climax revealed from the bottom 4, burn 1. So this is just your free secondary finisher if you don't get the Toru off, and your opponent, and you're not worried about the rest counter. You can just play this instead of the Kana and just push for damage. Our early play of choice for this deck is going to be the Kobayashi and Toru, which is a 4 more other. If you control 4 more other characters, this gets -1 level, and this card gains if you control 2 or more other dragon or human characters, it gains +1k, and it's an on-play resonance ability, which is you will reveal this Kobayashi, which also pairs with this Toru, since it's the resonance for this Kobayashi as well. And for her, it's a resonance heal or resonance burn 1. So this is a pseudo heal if you need to, or pseudo free damage. So this allows you to just easily push for 1 free damage if you're trying to eke your opponent, just inch your opponent way to level 3. And if they are close, this is just free precision damage to hit them to 3. And it's just an overall really good early play that allows you to just either heal or gain tempo in the damage race. And then lastly, we play the Toru finisher. So this Toru pairs with the choice climax. So when the choice climax is in play, you can this card gains one of 2 abilities. On attack, burn 1, or the other ability, which is pay 2, discard 1 dragon or human character from your hand and send it to the waiting room, and you can burn equal to X. And X is you just declare any number that you want. So this allows you, depending on your opponent's damage state, you can burn high to bait a cancel, depending on if they're really decompressed. So you can burn high and hopefully stick, and bait the backups, or you can burn for precision damage if they're compressed, and stick as much relevant damage as you can. So this allows you to either bait out cancels or just stick a ton of damage. And this card is really good because you can flex that number. You can just not pay 2, discard 1, and just burn 1 if they're really close to dying. Or if you know they're really close to dying, you could just pay 2, discard 1, and burn for any number that you feel is appropriate. So usually it just depends on your opponent's deck state, and this is why I like this finisher, is it modulates the damage based on your opponent's compression rate. So knowing that probability helps you determine how well you close the game, and that's why I like this Toru, because it allows you to modulate your damage based on your opponent's deck state. So I like this card, and it's overall one of my favorite finishers. The other finisher that I would say is the second best would be Iduru, the 3/2 Iduru with 3 soul, or the next best would be Kana. So this deck has a lot of finishers that are really good, but I feel like the Toru one is the best one. Hence why I built the deck this way. I do happen to have a door choice build that I am looking at, so keep an eye out for more deck profiles. I will be putting a link to this deck list in the description below. If you want the code, I can just scroll up. When you go onto deck log for JP, you can essentially just get this code right up here, and then you can see you have the deck list for yourself to build on Encore decks, or you could just pause this video to get the deck list. So once again, this is Platinum Point. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and peace out, guys.